Well. May have not made a video in like 5 years, 4 years, something like that. But I'm back. I'm back talking about Ninjago. I guess being I kind of hate the show now, but I felt that it was important to talk about it. Bro, what the? I'm trying to find a actually good. Here, okay, I think this is good. But yeah, I don't really like the show anymore. But new season released, and I was like, you know what? Got me thinking about the show again. I've been keeping up with it. Some of these seasons I haven't watched in like fucking so long. Like I do not remember part one. Uh, I couldn't tell you what happens in like, bro. What is this? What is who is this, bro? Okay, so I think these are these separate? Okay, so this is part. Okay, so I guess they ranked. But what is this? Okay, I'm not gonna count this. I'm gonna rank this for part 3, this for part 2, and then this for part 1. Because we're not ranking all that nonsense. We're not ranking the parts separately. Season 11 is 1. We're not doing parts 1 and 2 for the Dragon's Rising. Anyways, the opinions have changed a lot since last time. So let's start with the order they come out in, because why not? So, pilot season. There's not really much to say about them, honestly, that hasn't already been said. They're like decent for what they are. I don't really think, at least me personally, if I watched these today, I wouldn't really feel the desire to continue watching the show. But I think for what they are, they're fine. Because, we established the main cast, Garmadon, Wu, that entire conflict. The world isn't particularly interesting, but it's got decent music, decent banter, so it's pretty enjoyable for what it is. It really is not until season 1 where shit gets, where it gets tough. Like, come on, tell me season 1 is not one of the best seasons. I think what works so well about it is the structure of it. I think it does a great job of like taking this cast you already know, giving them like at least one episode. Like I think each episode of the season, we get like a decent dive on one of the characters without really appearing redundant. Like episode 1, it's kind of just like about all of them establishing the Green Ninja conflict. Episode 2, episode 7, they're both about Zane. 3 and 8, we got one's for Jay. And then 4, I guess that's not really. Fuck Cole, episode 4, then about the Green Ninja conflict, and then episode 5, you got the Lloyd shit. Episode 11 is also very much about Lloyd. The Samurai X episode, the Cole episode, Royal Blacksmiths. So I think really it is season 1 that made the show what it is, really. There's so many reveals, like, Samurai X, Zane becoming a robot, which is low-key hot take, probably for the worst, looking back. But, I don't know, it really makes the show, like, way higher quality, I think. Solidifies how good the soundtrack is, and it feels structured in a way that, Dragon's Rising does very much attempt to have that structure, but like looking at like season 2, 3, 4, 5, like this entire like pre-movie post revival era, there was definitely so much more structure here in terms of like plot coherence. That's like, damn, this is actually, I'm watching a real show, not just like whatever the writers could throw together based on like a time crunch. And speaking of throwing together stuff on a time crunch, got season 2, which I don't think is very good. I am not a big season 2 fan, I think. I have a video about this, right, which I do want to remake because it's been a long time and I think I could add more to the discussion. But season 1, one of the biggest things, obviously, is the Garmadon Lloyd battle, which season 2 just completely... It sidesteps the issue by basically having the conflict just be about the Overlord and Lloyd, and kind of removing Garmadon's like agency over the situation. Like there isn't really a moment where he has to directly confront Lloyd like he can in like speech and whatever, and just like say, "Oh, you've made your decision, I have made mine." But like we don't really see them fight at all, and it's low-key horrifying this season. Like even in this picture, you see the Temple of Light, and they don't even have golden weapons. What is this? What is this, bro? But the filler episodes, I don't hate them as much as other people do. I think their main flaw is just that this is supposed to be like 28 episodes, one show, right? We really don't establish Lloyd's dynamic with any of these characters enough, I feel like. I think a really easy way you could have done that is just have each episode be like about Lloyd and one of the other ninja. And that would, flesh out the characters we already have, plus make Lloyd more meaningful. I think Child's Play and Double Trouble are really the only ones that attempt to make Lloyd like an actual character. Like him having to sacrifice his childhood to basically like him having to choose his responsibility over his personal desires, which we do come back to, which even if I think this season kind of sucks, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But I mean, yeah, we do have things like Pirates vs. Ninja, which is like honestly like a fundamentalist show. I think this show would be very different if that episode didn't exist. Like we wouldn't have Dareth, we wouldn't have Captain Soto. Skybound would be like kind of shittier. I think it's strange to bring Dr. Julian back when you're just gonna kill him. I think this is another case of like the show clearly not being planned in advance. And I think Kai. I do think Kai is really excellent this season. Like, I like how they repeat the thing of him like giving him a big old speech at the end, And I think his dynamic with Lloyd is probably the most interesting. Like the big brother protectiveness, I think it's very much more visible with him and Lloyd compared to like any of the other characters. I mean, also Nia, the RGB twins. Or trio, family, siblings. I think it's siblings, but I don't know. I think the season on its own is pretty flat. I mean, it kind of ruins Garmadon. It makes him just this stupid, like incompetent bastard. Basically, for the first half, he's just like whipping up some nonsense, but and then he's just like playing second fiddle to the Overlord, being like he's so easily duped. Even though he has the good moments, and I think, I don't know, me personally, I would have wrote the season, have it like be, Garmadon's venom is like just slowly taking him over, and he loses control over himself. I mean, and you could have that be like, I don't know, the fucking seed of the Overlord is in him, pause, and I don't know, I just do anything to make Garmadon be the main villain. I think the Overlord is just kind of aura farming, which again, is what this season is. Anyway, enough about this season. I do want to make... I would love to make a video about this season. And this one. Rebooted. Low-key, Rebooted is pretty bad. It's pretty awful. It's like low-key one of the worst Ninjago seasons that has ever been made. I think it's the structure that really does it in. The structure and the characters. I guess the structure is like, okay, first 2 episodes... Okay, if we focus on destroying the power. Cool. Next arc is like, okay, the Overlord comes back. Oh, but like, oh shit, it didn't kill him, so that was pointless. Then they go to like the moon, which is so strange, especially with like the underworld and like possession. We established the realms. Just like, what? So there's a moon. Does each realm have its own like solar system, or the planets out there? How does this affect the merge? Is it the same moon for every realm? How far does that stretch out? I mean, later in Seabound we know it's like the FSM like just doubled into this world. Did he make the solar system? Was it just pre-existent? What is the role of that in the entire lore? It's just so weird. This is kind of that era. I think season 2 and season 3, the writers were just so willing to just do complete nonsense and just run with it because it's like cool. for them, which I respect about the Hagemans. I think you can kind of see that still with Kevin Burke and Doc Wyatt with like drama and stuff, but I don't know, not the best season. They love to just flanderize characters in this era, and the least bad is probably Lloyd. But I mean, they kind of just ditched his whole golden power thing. They established this thing about him being able to move mountains, which is really not brought up again, like ever in the show. I mean, you got the Overlord moving like the skyscrapers, but you know, I mean, they try to establish lore with like the Stone Army, but they don't really go into that. I mean, it's cool that they're using the powers of the Stone Army versus, you know, the golden power. It's like a nice reversal of this season. And there is beauty in, you know, in like, you know, the ethical AI defeating Grok, you know, and you know how it can be used for good and bad. So there's like some attempts to have like some thematic coherence, which is kind of, I don't know, I think unprecedented in this show. So I think that's kind of commendable. But I don't know, it's not that good. I mean, you got the love triangle. Kai is just like an idiot the whole time, especially in the X1 Ninja Charter. Pixel is kind of like, I don't know, she's okay. Parachute can, you know, made that one video, so I guess she's not that bad. Then we get to some real Ninjago, some real stuff. You know, we got Tournament of Elements. I think this is the point where they kind of just ditch Rebooted altogether. They use it to establish like character conflicts. Like, yeah, we got the love triangle still going. We got the elements, which they split up, which I called, by the way, when I was like 8 years old. I called they were going to split up the golden power. But, you know, all these elements, which I mean, it kind of calls into question, I mean, that speech in season 2 where Lloyd's like, oh, I think there's a reason he chose us. But like, come on. I don't know, I think it's cool hearing about, you know, Garmadon, the most interesting character in the show at this point, and probably the whole time. You know, getting more into his backstory, getting more into the history of the world itself is really cool, and I think I like how it kind of gives more nuance to season 1 and the Anacondra. Like, oh shit, Chen was playing both sides, you know, it's actually, you know, these aren't just like, you know, just a race of like evil people, you know, they're chillers, honestly. Same thing after this season, which I appreciate, even if, I don't know, you got like the pink snake, which is very clearly the one woman in the tribe, but I don't know, I think season 4, it's not perfect. We don't really learn a lot about Chen. He's just kind of there. I mean, has a very great stage presence, but you know, I think there's some questionable lines with Cole and Jay. It's like, she's yours, Jay. Like, come on. But that's a whole person with her own agency, her whole like freedom. I do like how the characters are used this season, and I think this is really the only other time after season 1, but probably not as effective, where I think each character has something meaningful to contribute compared to like these other, where it's basically just Lloyd running the show or whatever nonsense are happening Rebooted. Like you got Cole, you know, being in the underground, you know, welcome, how's the fall kind of thing. Like he recruits the like fallen elements of masters, which is pretty hype. Also, some of these elements of powers are dumb, but it's not this level. But you know, there's recruiting them. Zane's got his whole dragon thing going on. Lloyd's trying to like figure out mystery of the tournament. Kai's got the Skylar thing. You know, and his little beef with what the fuck is his name, the metal guy, and Nia's like infiltrating it. Dareth is there too, which is really fun. You know, he's kind of not, you know, not the best character, but you know, he's got some funny moments. But yeah, decent season. But now no, the ending is honestly not as terrible. You know, it does a decent job resolving Garmadon's character. I like the drama with like Wu crashing out at Garmadon, which is really hype, and I think Garmadon's death here really has like a ripple effect throughout the show, which I think makes it like way more meaningful than something like Zane's which he just becomes basically like, how can we abuse this robot across the show? And then season 4 is like, oh yes, I have actually off screen, I learned that I am a human. But anyways, possession. Low-key, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking, because for Ninjago standards, it's probably like here, kind of, but like it's not really good. I don't know, maybe I'm being too kind of this, but possession just has these like, so we're gonna have these 3 weapons, or we're gonna have the Sword of Sanctuary, we're gonna have, you know, all of this stuff with the tomb. It's just this kind of unorganized prop hunt or item hunt. It's really strange. Like there's not really anything tying to these items together. Like it's just like, I don't know, the FSM just doing a scavenger hunt with whatever you can think of. And Cloud Kingdom is pretty bad, even if, you know, they try to do some retconning later. Obviously one of the great strengths of this is the Lloyd and Kai dynamic. You know, him kind of taking him under his wing, which isn't really, honestly should be way more present throughout the rest of the show, but, you know, fuck me, I guess, you know, can't have any good character dynamics. Moros, he's like edgy, but whatever. His redemption is kind of strange, kind of out of nowhere, but it could be worse. I think the biggest offender this season is probably how they handle Nia, because she's like, okay, yes, finally, we're gonna make her a main character, we're gonna make her one of the ninja, we're not gonna sideline her like what happened like 2 seasons in a row. And then here, I mean, she had something to do, but it wasn't really super the focal point. But here, you know, yeah, she is actually becoming a ninja, and it's like, but oh, if we're gonna make her completely on the sidelines, we're just gonna have her not join the main cast at all, we're just gonna have her be there at the training with Wu, doing nothing, just sitting there, getting, you know, being a victim to Ronan, which I mean, with the Ronan kissing her thing, I think that's just the show not knowing how to handle the ages of the character, and just the show not really being planned out. Like, there's just some nonsense line hunted. We're still teenagers. Like, come on, bro. You really didn't have to retroactively mess up the show. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm being too harsh on it, but I don't know, that's just my, you know, Realms and Ninjago days. But the finale's fine. Nothing super crazy. I think we don't really, I guess the realm stuff is cool. Like, yeah, we learn about, yeah, there's these 16 realms, and like the banter is like quite good this season. Like, you know, it's some level, like season 4 and season 1. So I don't know, maybe, you know, I'll be kind and put that shit in C tier, because I don't know. I mean, look what look at the stuff we got coming up. Skybound's a really interesting one, because I feel like it's really polarizing nowadays. Honestly, more than it was like in the early 2020s. We're just gonna leave it here for now. I think, I don't know, it's been a while, and I do want to revisit this season, because it's got a lot of Ninjago jank, which is very typical. Like, yeah, Nanakon's wish power is kind of whatever, and, you know, Dragon's Rising season 3 makes it like a billion times worse. Like, oh yeah, he could just, you know, say he doesn't want to wish him away. Like, you know, whatever. Like, he doesn't actually have to listen to the wishes. So it's just like, come on, man. But I kind of like how terrible everyone is this season. I like how terrible every character is. It, to me, in my opinion, it doesn't feel like in a contrived way with something like Hands of Time or Rebooted. It's like, because we kind of see sides of the characters which weren't really established before, or in the case of Ronan, which I like Ronan, by the way, they were. So I think it's like, you see, yeah, Jay's like kind of a sexist asshole, and he kind of has to, you know, recognize that Nia wants to make her own decisions. Nia's like, you know, very justifiably angry about like not having her place in the team, and that, you know, can come across as very frustrating. But I don't know if people were like, oh, Nia's such a bitch, bro. Like, I talked to Krusty about this, and it's like, it's genuinely so true that for so many years, until like, I don't know, maybe like 3 years ago, people had no idea how to criticize this season. They gave the worst arguments about why it's bad. And I will still to this day defend the ending, you know. I think the only reason it's like not as good anymore is because the Dark Island trilogy made it like, oh, all the Sky Pirates forgot their memories, you know, to remove all that, you know, amazing character exploration, you know, but whatever. I like how Kai is a terrible person, in the sense that like, yeah, he is, you know, he's a victim of fame, you know, which is pretty fun to see. I think my favorite part about this season overall, oh, actually, there's a lot I want to get into, but I think I love how, I think with Zane, Jay, and Kai, I think they do a great job of solidifying the dynamic with Nauticon. I love how he like the chess match between Nauticon and Zane is really excellent, and I think it's like a good way to like physically display their dynamic in a way which hasn't really been done before in the show. I think what I like about this season is just they're taking so many risks. They don't always pay off, but it seems less like a case where like they're just doing bullshit, but they're actually trying to like broaden what the show can be. Especially with the structure of it, you know, we see them picking off the ninja one by one. We're introducing all these concepts about like, oh, them being famous, and just you know, seeing these ugly sides of the characters that I don't know, we don't really see that too much anymore. I think some of the characters are extremely good this season. I think Cole and Jay's dynamic is good. You know, I know the scene where Cole's like, oh, you need a lot of paint to make him look good. It's kind of bad. But no, but when he actually talks about it, like how mothers and sisters are like the most important parts of our life, that part is so fucking fundamental to his character, Master of the Mountain. The same way that the Royal Blacksmith was, I think. And I think you can see so well how Lloyd is molding into a leader this season, which is like a great expansion off of Possession. Like he's actively stepping into that leader role, which you see him like in like the Wild Brain era. But also, you know, he's still like got his hiccups, like he's giving Zane water. Like, what are we doing? But no, it's, I don't know. I think Skybound, the main thing, the ick that I'm willing to acknowledge is like kind of shit, is like how Nia is still at the end of the season. I think it'd be a way more impactful if she had a bigger role in defeating Nauticon. I know she gives Jay the sword, but I know it's ultimately her decision to put herself in like a subordinate situation. But I think, I don't know. I wish it had more of her taking an active role in the fight against Nauticon and not just like dying at the end. I think it'd be way more power. I don't know. I think you could have a way where it's both Jay and Nia defeating Nauticon, especially because, and not just like being like possessed by Delara's spirit was like a really fumbling decision. Like even after like the kiss that Nauticon like, you know, assaulted her with was pretty terrible. But I don't know, you should have had her play a bigger role in the season, which is why I don't think it's S anymore. But I think that's a lot to appreciate, and I think the kind of negative wave that's gonna come back towards it is not entirely justified. But I'm not gonna shoot for this season like I used to, because, you know, come on, the big 2026, 10 fucking years ago, you know, who's gonna shoot for this season? But I like the part where Jay got like, you know, just physically abused and just like suffered throughout the season. It was pretty fun. Day that Departed. I'll put that here. And I think the thing on Day that Departed is, I don't know, I guess I like the Yang Cole dynamic, you know. The Royal Blacksmith song is fire. It's all just really rushed. I think Samukai is really funny. He's just like low-key a good guy. He's like, I promise, Jay, I'll return your parents. And I like the scene where, I mean, all the fights like suck. I mean, they're trying to do like some hype moments, but it's just not good. David Shane, you know. Also, why is this dude here? He's not even Samukai. Why is he? We don't really use these fights between the characters in like a meaningful way. Like, I mean, we don't really use Kai and Chen as like a really interesting. There's no character moments between them. There's like that hint. Oh, I could tell you about your parents, but And I mean, which is a good setup for Hands of Time, right? But we don't really see them do anything, you know. We don't really see them interact, have any meaningful conversations. I think especially it's disappointing with Pythor and Lloyd, like two characters who, you know, were kind of introduced together, and I mean they kind of drifted apart. But I mean, you see in like Rebooted, they have these little meetings. They just kind of pop up in the same places. But oh, also Pythor, one of the best parts of Tournament Elements. But I don't know. I wish they use this opportunity to make these interactions more meaningful. I mean, obviously you got Cryptor and like Kozu, like, you know, you can't really get too much mileage out of them. But I mean, you got Yang, you got Chen, you got Pythor. You could do something with those three. Cryptor, you know, maybe. Also, you know, the implications of Cryptor having a spirit, but you know, whatever. Hands of Time, everybody's favorite season. I don't know. It's not that bad. It's I mean, it's still in D tier, you know, but it's not like the worst thing ever. Actually, we're gonna get to this later, but I just want to say here and now, you know, the scene between the Wu dream sequence in this season, where everyone is like from his past is coming up being like, oh, you failed me. That shit is mogs completely out of Lloyd's arc in this season. In part 1, IMO. That is my honest take. In like 30 seconds, it outshines, you know, this 20-minute plotline spread across like 10 episodes. Which really is really bad, but we won't get to that. I think the music this season is amazing. Genuinely one of the best soundtracks. Probably the best up to this point, in my opinion. Or except for season 1, maybe. But this soundtrack is banging. The Kainia family theme. You know, the Hands of Time. Everything. I think it's ridiculous, though. This season, like, establishes that this is, like, 40 years ago. It was like, come on, man. Like, you're telling me it went from, like, medieval to... in Prime Empire getting like a video game, like AI getting Grok, and like in 10 years after this, like I don't know, what is this like economic planning, like I don't know. But I mean, you can tell it's David Shane, right? It's not like Possession where, you know, it kind of has problems, but you can see like the characters themselves shine through, which you could hear. It's really a shame. Just, I don't know, we have all these ideas we're playing with, right? We have Lloyd being a master. Okay, we're just going to undercut the development of the past, like, at least 3 seasons, you know? We're just going to make him, like, all the ninja, they don't like him anymore. We're just going to have the ninja be complete idiots for no reason. We're just going to have them goof around because, you know, we love to flanderize our cast. And, you know, it's really not that good of a season. Which, I mean, we got multiple YouTube videos on this. You know, a lot of people mention they hate this season. The humor, pretty bad. Jay is pretty fucking great this season, though. I think, besides him being a little flanderized, which, you know, kind of sucks. And also, I mean, it was present in Possession too, but just making, like, the main 3 or 4 ninja just being, like, blank slates. Like, I mean, really, I don't know. But yeah, not good. Music's really popping though. Then we have Sons of Garmadon, which we already know is a classic. One of the best shows. Like, low-key revived the show after some pretty trash installments. You know, I think it does the best part about this season, undeniably. And, you know, I do eventually want to make a YouTube video about this when I feel like rewatching this whole show. Jeez, I don't know. I forgot that in me anymore. But one of the best parts about this season is just how it takes the fumble of season 2 and makes True Potential, episode 9, like, even better. Because we have this, like, preconceived notion in Lloyd's head where where he was just able to revive Garmadon like that, you know? Like, he didn't have to actually, like, work for it, basically. And in here, we have that kind of fight, that kind of come back to bite him. Because he goes to this person, he's like, oh, Dad, I can redeem you, I can redeem you. He, like, we see Lloyd in such, like, a weak, like, unlikable state. Not unlikable, he's still very sympathetic, but he isn't, acting in his right mind, which I love seeing these like flaws of the characters and just having them like suffer the consequences basically. But like he just like tossed around in that prison. His dad is like, I have no son. He like crawls out of the monastery or out of the prison, and it's like, dang, my dude really got packed up. And I think this season has amazing presentation. I think like it genuinely like maybe not a movie, but like I don't know. You can tell the budget increase and like that they're, I mean, just trying to push the boundaries of what this show is. I don't know, just making it a lot more, I don't know, I guess ambitious, which I mean, you kind of, I mean, I've been watching My Little Pony a lot recently. To me, this feels like very much a season 4, season 5 kind of like level of like presentation of where like, well, we're going to make this show like a lot crazier than it's been up to this point. I think there's a lot of problems with this season which stop it from being good. I think like honestly half the episodes are kind of not amazing. I think Zane is pretty done dirty. Like, come on, we have like him just die. I mean, we don't really need the mystery thing, me personally, but this is like I think where the trend of Zane just being like physically damaged just you got out of hand. It happened in Hands of Time too, but like we're playing Built to Protect in the intro. Like, what are we doing, man? We got that shine little glowworm sequence. Just like, come on, man. Jay is like has a super feminine voice. Not, I don't, you know, I fuck with feminine voices, but I don't know. I don't think they do him justice. You know, I feel like we have a completely different version of Jay in this season, and I think the characters are kind of dumbed down a bit here, except for Lloyd, Cole, and like probably Nia. I mean, these three are just like, what are we doing? Harumi's plan, I feel like she knows so much. Like, how does she know all this FSM lore? How is she able to do this, like, planning this hyper complex plan despite being, like 14, like, for most of the time? Like, what are we doing? But, I don't know. It's, like, it's generally good enough to salvage. The ending is wonderful, ending it on a cliffhanger. Planning directly for the next season, which is, you know, like kind of belongs season 1 and 2 in that degree. I think, I mean, the Sons of Garmadons themselves kind of suck. But the season, very good. Definitely a return to form. But, you know, if you want to talk some real cinema, some real Ninjago quality, oh my gosh, we have so much left. Okay, you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm going to split this into 2 parts. We're going to do these 2, and then we're going to put Wild Brain Dragons Rising in another episode. So, Hunted. This is my favorite season up to this point, and probably, you know, of all time. I think it takes, like, the scale of this season of Sons of Garmadon and just, like, I think makes the character work as a whole way stronger. I love how we see this Garmadon, this version of Garmadon, like he's fighting against his like best interest. Like he's becoming like actually like a decent person. I think his relationship, like his like father-son dynamic with Harumi is really, really interesting. And I guess how he grows to like, he's basically, I mean, Harumi's like a surrogate Lloyd in this kind of thing where he's like he's evil but like he has to like have someone he cares about and wants to protect. And I think, I mean, you can really feel how imposing the Sons of Garmadon are this season. Like the city's completely destroyed, the characters are picked off one by one, kind of like Skybound. And I don't know, I think it's, I like how we see the Elemental Masters again, Dareth, Misako, and I really like Lloyd's arc of where he has to step up, be like the leader of this resistance. I think it's another case where we see Lloyd grow as leader, I think, which kind of mogs the heck out of season 7 in that regard. Like, and I think in the context of this kind of being the midpoint of the show compared to like Dragons Rising, I think this is like extremely valuable. I think if you skip from the Oni trilogy to Dragons Rising, I think you could very much draw a connection, like a connective thread from the Oni trilogy to those seasons. And obviously the woo stuff is great, reversing it, so it's like students have to teach them. You see a lot of great moments, like Jay teaching them humor, Kai like teaching confidence, and like Cole being there. It's like the like continuing that legacy of him being like the father to Woo, and just having that continue in like season 13 is hype. I think the music here is like genuinely, it's like better than Hands of Time, better than season 1. And I think the voice acting here is especially good. You see Lloyd in that first episode, he is distraught. Samuel Benson, you cooked this season. He just feels completely like his hopes are shattered. He genuinely wants to like end his life, bro. It's just really good voice acting. I like that Dareth is here. I like that he does stuff, you know. I don't know. For some reason, I don't like the humor of this season, but I really like the humor of Hunted. I don't know what changed. I find the Dareth like trying to have to go and poo funny, which is ridiculous. That shouldn't be funny to me, but I don't know. And I like how Woo is there for the final battle. I like how the 4 ninja are there. I think Nia is kind of sidelined, sadly, but I like her dynamic with Lloyd a lot, and I think that's something that's, I don't know, really underappreciated on the show, and I think we see that more later, but that's a really underappreciated dynamic, which you see a little bit of this season. I like how Mr. E gets slimed out. I think the Dragon Hunters are a great faction. I don't think they're as good as the Sky Pirates, shouldn't really get into, but I think they're really, really hype. Just, I mean, I love the drama within the factions themselves instead of just being like NPCs, basically. Or, I mean, season 1 does its own thing, which is interesting enough, but I'm glad they actually take time to flesh them out. Faith is a great character. And I've heard complaints about the Oni and Dragon Realm plotline is a bit too meandering, which is fair enough. I think the season definitely is slower, but I don't know. I think the plotlines are interesting enough. I think the characters are pretty strong here. I love how they use Mistake. Even though she has that, you know, Granny Smith voice, I think it's really cool that she's in this show, that she does something. She has a really satisfying ending. It's cool making her a Oni. It's like, oh yeah, that's why she knows everything this season. And I don't know. I think she's really cool. The one thing about this season, which I think is a pretty big fumble, is, you know how you have Lloyd's arc of him like trying to become a leader of the resistance and like inspiring the people, them watching him on the TV. The people that Lloyd inspires in Radio Free Ninjago don't really show up during the final battle. It's all characters we know. Like we see like Ronin. I don't know why I'm thinking about Ronin, but we see him in the final battle. I don't know, in like battle, like taking down the Oni Titan. But we don't see just like, I want to see randos. I want to see like Aaron and Sora's, you know, what is it? Aaron's parents. I want to see them like show up and do them wrangling with the Titan. I just wish we saw more citizens of the city like trying to play a part in the resistance instead of just being onlookers, like which they've been for the entire show up to this point. But yeah, I think it's the best season. Low-key, I don't think anything here this is not gonna this not I can tell you now, this is not gonna dethrone Hunted. Okay. March of the Oni. Where do we put this one? I think here. I think we're gonna put that humble seat here. I mean, I don't know. If you wanted to be real cynical, you could just do this, but I don't know. I think here's fine. The Oni themselves are really, really lame faction, and I don't know. It's got some good in it, but it's mainly just Garmadon carrying. We just have like emotional, like artificial, like emotional moments of like Cole dying, which isn't actually Kai like forged the web. I think the Kai Nia dynamic is decent for like 5 minutes. They don't really dive into that. I don't know. It's just things happening, honestly. I mean, let's do this. It's just kind of things happening for the sake of it. I don't know. the Oni themselves are really boring, and the action itself. I'm not saying I watch the show for the action or for the power scaling, but like Lloyd gets packed up by a singular Oni. Like, what are we doing here? I don't know. There's just a lot of disregard to the lore. Which, like, oh, you can go to Tommy and Drayson's Twitter. We can see, oh, actually, the golden weapons, it's because they reforged them that, they can't just use them. And it's because actually Wu had creation as an element, which you've definitely seen throughout all these seasons. He just had creation, so that's why he could use all the elements of the golden weapons. There's really not much to talk about, which kind of sucks. This is like built up to be like the hype finale of the show. I mean, I don't know. It's got some nice moments, but like, why are we spending so much runtime on Cole like dying? Like, why? Why is he in the intro? Like, oh yeah, he didn't have a season, but like, was really this the time to do it? I don't know. And like, we can even, if we have building on this Wu Cole dynamic, and we don't even have Wu there to see his death, his quote unquote death. What about that dynamic? Bring that to a conclusion. Actually, matter of fact, have Wu play a bigger part in this story. We have, it's about, we got Lloyd, Garmin, and Wu are like the FSM descendants. They're playing a big role here, but we see Wu do nothing, which is really, really lame. I don't know. I think this season should have been about Wu and Garmadon. That's my hot take. And like Lloyd, it's like a tertiary character. I don't know. I mean, it looks nice, and there's really nothing here, and I think that's a really big shame. So yeah, that's my ranking of the first seasons. I know we got a lot of ground to cover. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 installments. We're not counting the separate ones, but I think this is a good place to stop. So yeah, see you in the next video. Hopefully, my channel, I can still log into my channel because I actually might not be able to. But yeah, bye-bye.